Okay. Hi, everybody. This is 1,125 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Let me just get on Facebook here and make sure everything is working. See if I can see myself. I can see myself. Okay. That's great. I have a lot of notes tonight because we have breaking news, and I want to get things right. As a matter of fact, I wanted to write down a number before I got on, and it's a criminal case number. It's a criminal case number um, that is associated with Leilani Hart, and I just repeated the name of the live stream to, it's like part two of Leilani Hart is a convicted criminal. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Let me write this down. The number is 1P 19700180667. Okay, so that is the case number, and those are not easy to get because of the concerns about the immigration, the concerns about all the different names, right? Who is she? What is her name? Um, Iolanthia, Lolanthia, Lorian. Um, why is that such a huge deal? Okay, so here we go. Make sure I have this in the right place. Yep. Okay. All right. So and this is really really important because of other things going on and things that have happened, and that it involves our son's case, and of course the obstruction of justice, the denial of due process that's going on in our son's case. We are at 1,125 days every day doing a live stream. Um, about my son's case, about a missing soldier, that the why aren't they looking for him? Why aren't they looking for him? And why aren't they letting us know about his remains? Do they have his remains? Um, so let's get started. So the information is pouring out now. If you want to go and find this case and read it for yourself, because there's many cases, but I'll show you. I'll just tell you how to get to the case because it's not so easy, and I hope I'm gonna say it properly. I don't think I am. But it's the courts.state.high for Hawaii.us. E-court, that's a lowercase e-court. Um, oh, I'm going to botch this one. Um, but uh, go on to the bottom of the page, and you're going to click to enter. And you're going to accept and go to the website to search, but you want to go to the case numbers. You want to go to the numbers, right? And then you can put in the number that I just read off. I can read it off again. One capital P 19700180667, and you can read that for yourself. It's really important. And I'm going to give you some more numbers. But the reason why this is so important is because somebody is giving Leilani Hart bad advice. Somebody is giving, And who gives advice? To me, it's probably like an attorney, right? An attorney is giving Leilani Hart bad advice because in this court case, um, and I hope I just get it all right, she goes to in our son's case, Leilani Hart went to JAG. JAG is a federal agency. So that makes it a federal crime to give a false report to a federal agency. And that's not even mentioning the obstruction of justice charge, tampering with a witness charge, and more. I mean, that's just me. I'm just a mom. And that's just me saying, oh my gosh, she's messing with our witness. She's messing with a witness that has authority, since he's an officer of the court, to get us answers. So she's obstructing justice. And she's doing that by giving a false report to a federal agency, to JAG, who then in turns reports to Major General Eisenhower and gives Major General Eisenhower bad information. The problem here is that something's going on in the JAG, because we have Thomas Kean, the DES at the time, the chief of security of Fort Bliss at the time, saying that when Leilani Hart, who is a primary suspect in the forced disappearance and murder of our son, premeditated murder of our son, when she, a year after, complaints were made to her officially, complaints were made about her officially to the CID, to the FBI, to the command, and to many other institutions by the officer of the court. A year later, she's coming in and giving false reports to the JAG, which is a federal agency, who then in turns doesn't do any vetting, doesn't do any investigation. There's no packet to this report that obstructs justice, that bans the officer of the court from accessing Fort Bliss, which has all kinds of repercussions, that hurts so many of our service members because of the volunteer services, the education services that normally that he gives to our young volunteer sons and daughters that help their life, right? So she's even obstructing positive information and help to our service members. There's just so many bad, there's so much bad karma here. And the JAG is going along with it because Thomas Kean, the former DES and chief of security of Fort Bliss, who was the DES at the time, says that there's no packet, there's no investigation, that it was unjustly put forth to the general to sign it by Colonel Brady. This is really serious because the JAG has the ability to go to Hawaii, to do a background check. And the thing is really Thomas Kean is confessing. He's confessing to his own crimes, because last night after my live stream, what did I get? I got I got calls. And it was like, oh my gosh, who approved Leilani Hart's security clearance? Who approved her background check? Who did that? Who allowed her on? Who allowed her to work with medication, to work side by side with our soldiers, with our service members, family members? Who allowed her to interfere there at Park University? Park University not doing their due diligence, because her false claims there ended a career of and hurt different professors at Park University. The damage is, not only in false reporting of the uh, sexual assault on a 7-year-old. I mean, did that happen? Because if that didn't happen, because you understand that 7-year-old is not 18 years old right now. So, because we're checking how long this, because I know the time is ticking with all of these cases, and Hunter Biden's and Biden's, they're playing this game of delay, and here it is, the statute of limitations doesn't even begin until after this young person reaches 18 years old, right? So whoever did the sexual assault, they are still liable. They are, if this happened, if this sexual assault happened in Leilani Hart's bedroom, right? But then we have a credibility problem that not even the JAG is catching. Who's letting this all happen? What is going on with the security of our installation, our Fort Bliss installation? And we know that they are operating outside of the law just by this, because a simple background check will give you several of these cases. And the one case number that I just gave you, that is about giving false information to law enforcement authorities. Okay? So I'm trying to wrap my head around all of this so that I say it right. But I can tell you this, something stinks. Something stinks because somebody, some group doesn't want to vet, wants to give Leilani Hart free range to do damage on our military installation to our service members and those serving our service members, which is a national security threat. Somebody is doing it, and somebody is giving her wrong information, false security of protection. And to me, that seems to be like a lawyer. Somebody in the law, someone in the law. I think we have an idea of who the lawyer is. We have a name of a lawyer. We know the connections. Yeah, but it's bad information. And I don't know. I just feel that we have to put aside some of our, I don't know. If she's getting bad information from a lawyer that's up to no good, then that means they're up to no good and hurting so many individuals. Not just in the military, but, El Paso has Fort Bliss. So many individuals are being hurt and led astray and being used. Because let me tell you, Leilani Hart has committed so many crimes here. So many crimes just in the fact that she is a convicted criminal of giving false information to law enforcement authorities, that she was convicted of that. She pled guilty to that. And that there was no vetting. See, this is the thing. The crime is being allowed to continue, and that's what's happening in our son's case. The forced disappearance and the premeditated presumed murder of our son is being allowed to continue. And okay, we don't have his remains, but what we do have is evidence after evidence after evidence after evidence of obstruction and denial and delay and lies and lies and lies and military operations used against a family and asymmetric warfare tactics used against a family. We have crime after crime after crime, a pattern of cover up of criminals and throwing the very service members and the service members' families that they are obligated to care for under the bus. The very duty that they swore an oath, if they swore an oath, because now we're getting told that a lot of them are not even made to swear an oath, that they are supposed to swear an oath to the Constitution, to defend the Constitution, which means to defend the land and the people, the laws of the land, that gives us property rights. I was out with my mother today and I was approached by this socialist, nice guy. And he wanted me to come to one of his socialist meetings. And I was like, that's a death wish. That's a death wish. We live in this country and prospered incredibly because of the Constitution. And in the last decades, that's been so under attack. And you saw what happened today with President Trump, whether you like him or not. You know that it's unjust. You know it's a political hit job. You know that it is vile and vulgar what they did. You know it. I know it because I was there at January 6th. I know it. I know that nothing what he said was bad because I had to listen to it afterwards, because while I was there, they had tampered with the sound system and you couldn't hear him. If you were where I was, you couldn't hear him. So there was no urging to do any damage. There was urging to come close to one another, to come close so that they could tear gas you and get you so riled up that you would stampede. That's what they were trying to do. They wanted people to die. That's what they wanted, in my opinion, because of being there. It was definitely a political setup job. It was a setup. And that so many people were so restrained. Yes, okay, a few. But so many. I mean, we're talking about over 1 million people. If they're, it was so restrained to what was happening to us with the tear gassing and the weather. Oh my gosh. But anyway, But I want to get back to Leilani Hart and the JAG and this assault on our key witness, because there was no vetting. This was a political hit job. Okay, this was a political hit job. They didn't want to do a packet. They didn't want to do an investigation, because what would come up would be Leilani Hart's criminal conviction. And many more, here I'm going to, for harassment, many more criminal complaints. There's a pattern here of criminality. And that's what would come up if the JAG would have done their due diligence. And here's some numbers. This is for harassment. These are for harassment. 1 SS 071 00027. So that was 4 zeros. The next one is 1 SS 051 001519, comma, another one, 1 SS 051 001342. Okay. In addition, okay, to this, her family. So James Hart and family members also lodged a criminal complaint, a complaint against her in a domestic abuse case. That number is 1DA98000015. So that's 5 zeros. There's another one, and it's really, really important too, because in one of those harassment cases, a restraining order was breached. Okay? A restraining order was breached. So, and the prosecutor's office there in the state of Hawaii had to file their own criminal complaint or case against Leilani Hart. And that number is for breaking a restraining order, because I believe it was a 3-year restraining order and she broke it. So, who does that? Right? So that number is 1P10015275. And she joined the military? She joined the military? I don't understand how please let me know. And maybe Leilani Hart, and this is really the purpose for tonight. And you can tell me if I'm wrong. Team Fine Richard Halliday, you can tell me if I'm wrong. But we talked about it over here, and we thought, okay, nobody can do this kind of stuff by themselves. And that criminal complaint affidavit that Leilani Hart submitted, that she notarized, I can kind of understand why she notarized it, because she has no credibility, and she was doing everything she could to make herself credible. That's why she notarized it. And she got the CID to accept it. Now, I don't know if her lover, CID Special Agent Tavita Nusa, in the CID office there at Fort Bliss, got that criminal complaint that she notarized on July 22nd, the day before Richard went missing in 2020, that he got it through the CID and got the FBI to accept it, because it's accepted. We have the case numbers, the CID case number, and also the FBI case number. We've turned all that in. You know, that is so shocking, because, you know, that is a criminal. There's so many crimes in that are just, that don't have any statute of limitations, right? Or that the statute of limitations are not up yet. And it's, someone needs to be arrested, and we need to hear the answers, because it's part of Richard's case. And by getting the answers to that criminal affidavit, that it is a good chance that Leilani Hart lied through that. And did someone put her up to that? Someone in power that put her up to it, that has power to tell her to notarize it, to get the CID to accept it, to get the FBI to accept it, to make her look credible, so that they might hide her conviction of criminality for lying to law enforcement authorities. You know, I'm thinking she needs to reach out. She needs to reach out and tell us who has been abusing her and using her. And maybe pimping her, legally pimping her. I just, is there someone that legally pimps someone, not sexually, but legally, or maybe, I don't know. But I'm just thinking, she's just led, where is the vetting? Who did her security clearance? Who let her in the military? Who let her handle medicine? Who let her handle medicine with soldiers? Who helped her put in that complaint? Who helped her go to the JAG and commit a federal crime? Because we know that the report she gave to the JAG that led to the banning of our key witness that reported her a year earlier is a false report. There's no El Paso Police Department report. She didn't call the police department. There's no text messages. There's no bullet. There's no forensic evidence. There's nothing. It's a false report. And we know that Poche is not credible, because he's used as, also being used by El Paso Matters by Miss Korcharga, who must have, there has to be a legal team behind it. There has to be an attorney behind this that we, and of course we wouldn't be saying this unless we kind of had a good idea. But we need to let Poche know, Mr. Poche, we need to let Leilani Hart know that they're being used and abused in order to make false allegations, and then to make a false report to a JAG, a federal agency. And I, the lawyer would probably know better all the different crimes that have been committed here, the violations here, better than me, better than Rob and I looking at all of this. But, my husband had to be vetted over and over again for his top secret clearance. For his being in the military, for whatever. I mean, going onto a military base. And yet, the person that is a convicted criminal is being protected here. And not protected well, y'all. See, this is the truth of it. They say, oh, look, we're protecting you while we're stomping all over you, using you to commit these crimes for us. There has to be this big, I want to say, criminal syndicate behind this, doing unspeakable things. 85,000 unaccounted for minors. And I think that we need to stop being so callous. These are human beings. And I'm thinking that Leilani Hart has been used. I'm thinking she's been used, and I hope that she reaches out. And I think that Mr. Poche has been used. And I reached out to Leilani Hart's good friend because I think she's being used. And I hope that they reach back out. And we reached out to Edwin. And I think that he was being used. And I think, we have many people on the list. And Lisa might be one of them too. Let's get the boss on my side. Let's get the boss on my side, and Charmer. With the VA, that's a whole nother story. Right now, the big thing is Leilani Hart and her criminal conviction and her pattern of crimes, of harassment, of, lying. How does that go unnoticed by the JAG unless they are up to no good in our son's case? They're up to no good. And, so that includes Judge Robert Shook. And if they're up to no good, did they falsely brief or mislead in their brief Major General James Eisenhower? Because he wasn't, he hasn't been there that long. So have they used him and gave him bad information? false information. I wonder if he knew that Leilani Hart had a lot of zeros. A lot of zeros. Her game is over, you know? And she has a lot of zeros, meaning she has a criminal conviction and a history of harassment and breaking restraining orders and domestic abuse and domestic what is that? Loudness or whatever. Disturbance. Yeah. A long history of that. And were they calling out because of what she was complaining about in her confession that the CID accepted and the FBI accepted? I don't know. We need to get to the bottom of this because it's part of Richard's file. And she has been, we had a whistleblower that pointed her out that said Leilani Hart and Tavita Nusa. Tampering with Richard's file, tampering with videos, deleting videos, So this is really everyday breaking news. And some of the breaking news that happened today, I'm not at liberty to share. But as soon as it is confirmed, because we have confirmed now that Thomas Kane is the one that issued the special passes to the young party girls that were brought in during the COVID lockdown. So what does that show you? I really want to focus on Leilani because that's so important to get to the bottom of Richard's case, because we need General Eisenhower to lift that ban, and he's going to be feeling pressure. He's going to be feeling pressure from the pedophiles and those from our side that want justice. I don't know what he's going to pick. Is he going to pick the sex cult criminals, or is he going to pick the Constitution? His duty. Is he going to pick helping a missing soldier? His missing soldier. So, but this with Thomas Kane is really big too, because if he issued, well, we don't know if, we know he did, we have confirmed it, he did issue the special passes to the party girls to come on to Fort Bliss during the COVID lockdown. So the hypocrisy of that is, the hypocrisy, and we know that it was a leadership collaboration, because Command Sergeant Major Jerry Jakovitz told us so. We decided, we brought in the girls, we, the leadership. That is the only way that could happen, is if the generals, with the Command Sergeant Major, with Thomas Kane, the Chief of Security of Fort Bliss, the DES, the one that issues the special passes to people, the one that's supposed to vet the likes of Leilani Hart, right? The one that is supposed to secure Fort Bliss, the one that controls the surveillance footage, the one that controls every gate going in and out of the military installation for all of Fort Bliss. The one that would absolutely know what happened the night that Richard disappeared. The one that would absolutely know about these these storage units, right? The tactical move storage units. Um, breaking news, breaking news. I'll be talking about that um, once, because in order to talk about it, it's so hard to do these live streams. You don't want to read from notes. I don't want to read from notes. I want it to be part of me. I want to speak from my heart. I want to tell you what I know, and I want to be sure of what I know. And so I'll wait another day and kind of wrap my head around the storage shed story. But and brace yourself. You're going to have to pray before it, pray during it, and pray after it. And, yeah, I'm getting calluses on my knees. Absolutely. I mean, even my grandson, he got a scraped knee and he was looking at my knee and he was like, oh, Gigi has a boo boo and I have a boo boo on my knee. I'm like, yep, yep. Uh, you know, you got to pray all the time and you got to do. You got to do and you got to pray. To pray is to do is to pray. And we're going to get justice here. But Thomas Paine gave these, you know, the hypocrisy to lockstep all of our soldiers, get them in big trouble if they did this or did that. Your son was put in a quarantine wagon and taken up to William Beaumont. And that was such a setup job, y'all. That whole thing was a setup job because now we have, this connection with even the Customs Border Protector. That January parking lot, that was such a setup job. And this is my opinion from reading through it, knowing what happened. It was such a setup job. If they're going to go to this extent, and I'll be able to tell you what kind of extent as soon as Amy Snoddy sends us the information that we've requested about the monies. Because in order to do this, they would have to have funding. So, did they spend $10 or did they spend a few million? So we want to know. So the hypocrisy of we want to keep you safe. This is for your life. Your life means so much to me, but we're going to bring in party girls. And we're going to let Chagra sell you a bunch of illegal drugs, so you can put the LSD, stuff everyone's mouth full of LSD paper while you wrap them up and stuff. Were any of these party girls, were their mouths stuffed with LSD? How much cocaine was there? We know that there is everything. Fentanyl, cocaine, and LSD. The barracks are marketplaces for illegal drugs. And we're not even talking about legal drugs. And then, because, it's free. Your health care is free. It's free. Sorry, but, it's like these are young people and their lives are being destroyed. The next thing you know, after they join the military, they're having seizures. They're dying and they call it suicide. They have PTSD. And they're, that's not why they join the military, is all the things that are happening to them that are preventable. We all know that war is a dirty game. We know it. But the things that are causing bodily and mental harm to our service members, for the most part, could be prevented. And we know this now. We have evidence because they were bringing the party girls in during the COVID lockdown, and Thomas Kane was giving them special passes. And if he's going to do that, what else did he do in Richard's case with the surveillance footage? If he's going to bend on the COVID lockdown special passes and the party girls that he knows are going to be put in danger in the barracks, and that our service members are going to be put into danger. And, and for me, it's not about the COVID. It's about, you have drugs, you have alcohol, you have flush with weapons, you have a sex cult of sexual harassment and sexual assault, and you bringing young party girls in wearing short skirts, and so you're just fomenting a culture of criminality and victimhood. And then you make the barracks co-ed. And because of all that criminality and victimhood, then you have all this PTSD, then you have all this suicides, and you have all this violence. Then you have the callousness. And we know the callousness through Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz, First Sergeant Jay Paulin, and it's worse than that with him, okay? It's worse than that with him. It's not just callousness. And then, of course, with the chain of command going up to even entertain and then to spend the kind of money they've spent covering up the forced disappearance and the premeditated murder of my son, and the cover up of it, the cover up of his remains. And that's my opinion. Because of, and if you've been following this, I'm getting bolder and bolder every day, bolder and bolder with my convictions every day, because some things I don't share that I'm learning. Because you do have to protect people, and that's why I'm reaching out. I'm really reaching out to Leilani Hart today, and even to Mr. Poche. I'm reaching out because I think that there is a really good chance that this whole environment of, that they've been led astray by a lawyer, an attorney, and maybe a couple of them, to cover up crime. And I think they're going to throw them under the bus. Because she's a convicted criminal. And clearly they don't respect her because they're putting her on KTSM. They're putting her on KTEP. They're putting her on El Paso Matters with Kocherga. And then getting her to go to JAG, committing a federal crime. They're just putting them out. They're bait. They're putting them out there as bait, as the sacrificial, I don't want to say lamb, but for just the sacrifice to protect their criminal syndicate, because they're getting caught. So I hope she reaches out. And I know it's dangerous. It's dangerous for us. It's so dangerous. We've been harassed. We've been threatened. We've been bullied. They've used asymmetric warfare tactics against us. They've used military operations against us. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's not a doubt in my mind. Um, and I absolutely knew it for sure when I got the call from the representative saying, office saying, "Oh, I didn't know that your husband would do so well on that hike." And I was like, "What? Oh my gosh." Yeah. Um, we knew something really was off. And here we are, 1,125 days, you know, reaching out to Leilani Hart, that has done us a lot of harm. She's done us a lot of harm. She did Richard a lot of harm. Um, and as the story keeps going, as the truth keeps coming out and is exposed, you're going to see it. And, all that harm, all those developments, there's an orchestration behind it. And that's what we have to get to. That's how you retrench. That's how you secure um, our service members for the future and our country's security for the future. And, because you've got to get to the leadership that orchestrated all this to happen. Like I said, this would never happen without the Department of Justice, the media, and the 44 four-star generals. If the 44 four-star generals really were, let's say, a third of them were interested in defending the Constitution, none of this would happen. None of this. That's how much power they wield, how much influence they wield. We would have some esprit de corps, you see. We wouldn't have the gag orders because we would have part of the military protecting the right to speak, the right to due process, fighting against the obstruction of justice. Right? So if you have any questions tonight, thank you so much, Anicia, for coming on. I see that. Prayers for justice. Thank you, Kathleen. Hello, friends. How's everyone tonight? We're revealing breaking news every day. And and today's breaking news really is reaching out a hand. And I said no more immunity. That's not what I'm talking about because I'm keeping with that. But let's see what can be done. Let's see what can be done because this is just, it looks like a history of abuse. Right? A history of our institutions not vetting, not doing their job as far as justice goes. Because how can the likes of Leilani Hart commit crime after crime after crime and be protected like this? And obstruct justice in our son's case like she has. It's huge. People don't understand what has happened here. It's just total obstruction. And now I think now I don't know if they're going to get away with it, but Eisenhower has a real decision to make. I'm thinking that if he doesn't do anything with this information that of course we're giving to him, then he's an accessory for obstruction of justice. He's now committing obstruction of justice if he does not retract the ban on our key witness. And it's one of our key witnesses, but this is really, really important. It is huge. That's why they went to the extremes that they did and let Leilani Hart, I think they orchestrated Leilani Hart to commit these federal crimes because they were just so desperate they could not allow an officer of the court on that really wanted to get to the bottom of where Richard is onto Fort Bliss. That's what happened here. So, and only someone that would know that you see our train of thought, someone would have to know all of that. And so they would have to be very connected to the law or be a lawyer, an attorney, and a smart attorney at that, to see this, and that's why maybe there's several of them, because they had to orchestrate this. They had to see this for what it is, and try to play chess, right? It's what they were trying to do. But lies, they cannot be sustained. The truth always gets exposed. And Ireland, and you're going to laugh at me, but Ireland is an island of stones. Okay? It's an island of stones. And you can go through your field, you can go through your yard, and you can pick the stones, which is hard work because they're heavy. You can pick the stones and pick the stones. And sometimes if your friend has a tractor that with a box on it, it makes it much easier. And you can pick the stones and you think, okay, finally, I can have a yard without stones. But I swear to you, Ireland grows stones, because the next thing you know, you have to go out there and you have to start all over again. Right? And that's how the truth is. The truth comes up. And that's just such a great analogy, because we know who the Rock is, right? We know the Rock of Ages. We know who truth is. And the truth is going to come up. And you can try to get rid of it. You could try to cover it up. You could do, whatever. But the truth is going to come up, and you just have to build with it, right? You have to build with the truth. The lie is more, it just can't be sustained. And I hope that makes sense. And we knew nobody could tell us about our son, because we know our son. And what they were saying was so insane that we were like, okay, something's stinky. And we knew that the truth was going to come up. And look who's turning out to be the criminal. It's Leilani Hart. Richard doesn't have a criminal conviction. He doesn't have, he never even pleaded guilty to what happened in the parking lot. He never pleaded guilty to anything. He is, he did something really remarkable, y'all. And this whole thing with Park University and taking these classes, criminology, that would be with Thomas Kane. That would be with Thomas Kane, the very man that was supposed to secure Richard. was supposed to protect Richard, and yet gave special passes to party girls to endanger the entire installation. And he had all the surveillance footage was in his hands. All of the gates coming in and out was in his hands. Surveillance footage to the storage shed, right? So, and he knew Richard. Richard was in his class. And then we have a criminal complaint that Tavita Nusa confessed to bodily harm. We have another confession too. That's breaking news, but I'm still trying to get all the pieces to that. We're going to break it. We're going to break the lies apart and get the truth out. But to be interns in the CID, to be an intern in the CID, the connection, because that office is small. Ron Stieg is there with, friends with Jay Paulin, so Jay Paulin's probably going in there. That explains March really well. Because no one, at that time, remember I even put the karate picture up with Richard going like this. No one could tell me that what they were saying was just so insane to me. And Tavita Nusa was there. Marlon Soto was there. The crimes. And I'm not allowed to get, can you imagine, when my emotion, maybe this is good that I'm not allowed to get emotional. Because let me tell you, they have a lot to answer for, and we need to do this legally. We need to hold them accountable, because if you get emotional, then sometimes you threaten the whole legal process, and you don't get the accountability that needs to happen. And remember, we're looking at all the legal points, all the legal, how long, for murder, there is no, what do you call that? I wrote it down. They can, that goes on forever. Oh yeah, I have it right here. Because it gets late. Statute of limitations. Yeah, for murder, for capital murder, there's no time limit, y'all. There's no time limit. And this young kid, that really that lifted my spirits, because I thought maybe this kid could get justice. If this really happened in Leilani Hart's bedroom, master bedroom, maybe this kid can get justice. And I think it would go a long way, because, if you haven't done a Bible study on justice, I recommend it, highly recommend it. Because confession, justice, is the cure of souls, not PTSD drugs. Okay? When we get justice, it goes a long way to helping our mental health. and our physical health. Oh, yeah. And the health of our family, the health of our society, our community. I have a book on my shelf, Confession, The Cure of Souls. The Cure of Souls. And it's all about how justice, and this is how I taught my kids about it, and then I'll let y'all go. But I think this is really a great, great example. Let's say there's a weakness and a lady comes over and she has some money in her wallet, and someone takes $100 out. And then the mom finds out, hey, what did you do? You're a thief. A lot of people would say you need to give that money back. But that's not what God says. God says you need to give that money back plus $100. You need to give double back for what you did. You need to go apologize, and you need to give double back. And so that kid has to work. He has to go into his savings. He has to do whatever. And she has to give double back. Don't think that it's justice if you just go, oh, sorry, here it is back. Sorry that I got caught. No, You give double back. And when it comes to destroying businesses like in the COVID, you have to give 4 or 5 times back because you've ruined their way of earning a living. That's justice in God's sight. Not my sight, but in God's sight. And so that's what, not me teaching, but me repeating what God said. Don't think that you can be a thief. And when you get caught, just saying sorry and just give back what you stole. And don't think that you could just murder a young man that has his whole life in front of him and just say, sorry. And go in prison for a lifetime, right? That's not justice, y'all. It's not justice. And that's why I said, I'm glad Texas has the death penalty, because that needs to be on the table on this. Because they did more to Richard and our family than just take away his life. Because they're messing with our military, all of our service members, destroying our communities, using monies that we allocate to them, that we give them, using powers that we give them, and they're weaponizing it, or using it for they're weaponizing it for their own gain. They're using it for their own gain. Because no way could the likes of Chagra sell the amounts of illegal drugs into Fort Bliss if Thomas Ken was doing his job. And no way could young girls be living in the barracks, being pimped out at night, prostituted out, if he was doing his job. And no way could 3 years go by and there'd be so much obstruction of justice if they were doing their jobs. So, and the I don't even think that we can see all the damage that they have done. Oh yeah. So thanks, and thanks for coming on and listening. And we love you for staying with us for so long. I can't say it enough. I can't say it enough. And we're going to get to the bottom of this, because the truth are like the stones of Ireland. They're just coming up. They're just coming up, and they're coming up fast, and we can't even keep up with them. But we're doing our darndest. We'll get enough. We'll get enough. We already have enough. So it's just building them. Building them. It's kind of like that analogy where you have that big fish, the big shark, and then it's eating all the little fish, and the little fish decide to get together, and they build themselves together and make this big old whale, and then the shark is afraid, something like that. That's kind of like what's happening right now. And I think that General Eisenhower needs to come to grips with that, and admit that there's a problem on Fort Bliss, there's a problem in Jag, and give access to our key witness and let justice happen for the sake of the service members, for the sake of Fort Bliss, for the sake of the El Paso community, so that we can have justice and do the right thing, and that makes us stronger. So, okay, thank you so much. God bless you all, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye-bye.